So following the abhorrent racist abuse received by England's footballers in the summer, the call for social media companies to do more have never been louder. Now, though, ex-England Spurs footballer Jermaine Jenas has been on a mission to hunt down the football trolls in a new documentary named Hunting the Football Trolls.
Facebook has since responded to the documentary, saying no one should have to experience racist abuse anywhere, and we don't tolerate it on Facebook and Instagram. Twitter has also shared its response, saying in the hours after the Euro 2020 final, we swiftly removed more than 1,000 tweets and permanently suspended a number of accounts for violating our rules. Here's a look at the documentary. Jermaine joins us live in the studio now. And you're in a discussion there with somebody who's working within the police to help track down those responsible.
Yeah, one of the big kind of things I found out through making a documentary was that the football policing unit actually exists. You know, there's a lot of footballers and a lot of people out there that are constantly saying things like, well, where do I go? If I receive racist abuse on my phone, who do I report it to? What do I do? But actually, the football policing unit are actively working. And I was with them prior to the Euros when I started filming this documentary in the first place. And that was Malcolm, who you saw there. Malcolm literally sat and went through, I mean, tens of thousands of tweets to report to Twitter to try and get them to take things down. And it's interesting kind of what, you know, the read that you just kind of had going in there.
Because that mentioned 1,000,
well, yeah,
not tens of thousands.
Well, there you go. But also, you know, I think post the Euros, Twitter themselves, you know, out of all the kind of offensive tweets that were sent that they even accepted were offensive tweets and abusive tweets, they took down 3 of 19 on Twitter. Instagram took down... No, sorry, they took down 2 of 19. Instagram took down 3 of 84, which tells you that they're not actually doing anything. There was a lot in the news in terms of, oh, we're taking down all of these tweets, but the reality was that they're not.
What I found fascinating watching the documentary as well, Jermaine, was... Because you started this 3 weeks before the Euros.
Yeah.
We had no idea what was going to happen in the Euros.
I did.
Well, I mean, interestingly, once things got carried away, your comment was, you just, when it came to penalties as well, please let us win this and please don't let it be one of the black players that loses, because I can't bear the thought of what might happen. And, of course, then there was this extraordinary torrent of abuse, vile abuse and racist abuse as well. But the point where they're looking at the documentary and they're comparing the abuse that Harry Kane was getting to Raheem Sterling during the Euros, and there's a spike for Harry Kane at the start of the Euros when he wasn't playing great. He starts playing much better, scoring goals. And then there's a huge spike for Raheem Sterling, who was one of our best players.
There's an argument to say he was our best player at the tournament. You know, in those moments when we were struggling, he was scoring our goals, and Harry and Raheem's data was tracking on a similar kind of trajectory throughout the Euros. Then, towards the end, Raheem Sterling received 78% more abuse online than Harry Kane. And of that abuse, I think the number was around 54 to 58% of it was racist abuse. And you're asking the question, why? You know, why is that? You know, with Raheem Sterling in particular, one of our best players, but the answer is simple. It's because he's black. And that is why he was targeted. And
so dispiriting, isn't it?
It's very dispiriting.
It's so dispiriting when you're somebody who doesn't experience it. But for someone who does experience it, it is sort of sabotaging, I would suggest.
It's, you know what, it's disheartening. It's, you know, for me, I went through kind of different phases of it where at times I'm feeling quite confident and I'm OK and it doesn't affect me. I'll finish games and I'll be like, OK, whatever, I'll block them, I'll delete them and I can get rid of it. Then there are certain days where I'm not feeling as good about myself and it does impact me. And I'll walk into the house and my wife would be like, what's going on? What's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm just angry. And you don't know what to do with that at times. And I think the worst part is not having that place to go, which should, you know, which is the responsibility of these social media companies, let's be honest, because they're giving people the platform to create all this hate. And they're empowering them. And that is the worrying thing. We've been asked to change. We've been asked to change by moving our tools and stuff on our platforms, but they're not asking the trolls to change.
You did meet a troll, though, didn't you? You did finally... I mean, the tricky thing is that you're going through a process during this for a couple of tweets that were sent to you that were clearly very painful tweets for you to have received. But you actually met somebody. What was that experience like, confronting somebody who you know has, not necessarily to you, but has posted racist abuse online? Yeah,
so he was... I mean, this was a person that actually had gone through the process of reform. And, you know, I reached out to a lot of trolls to try and sit down and speak to them. It came very close at times. And you have to understand there's that element of their safety and their welfare as well has to be brought into account, their state of mind, which myself and the people at the channel had to think about.
That seems extraordinary that you're being considerate of someone's
I think when
sort of welfare when they're the one responsible for abusing
I know,
you or
yeah.
others online.
No, listen, that's when you're making these documentaries. I think you have to be very thorough, and you have to make sure. I don't want to be putting somebody on television that, after that moment, is going to suffer more abuse and not be in the right state of mind themselves to to be able to deal with that.
So it just goes to show how you have to be the bigger-hearted, more considerate person.
100%. But that is, that is the duty of care, and that's what we want people to be like, though, isn't it? We want that people to be,
What was it like, though, Jermaine, for you to stand? I mean, he's been through the person you meet. He's been through some rehab. But what's it like standing there in front of somebody who has done this, has had the intent to do this? It was
a very strange experience, Ben, because I went into the room with a lot of kind of like anger in my heart, I think, if I'm totally honest with you. And when he started to talk, I could understand that he was genuinely upset about the way he used to behave. The biggest story kind of surrounding it was the fact that he was a troll, but he'd also kind of been groomed and been targeted by different organisations that, will specifically look for people who are trolling, people who use racist language online and try to radicalise them and take them into different groups. And, I mean, it's a whole different documentary, if I'm totally honest with you.
You're talking about it as if it's almost a terrorist unit and that the aim is to groom individuals who may be vulnerable themselves to act inciting terror in individuals.
Well, I mean, you've pretty much kind of hit the nail on the head. I think what these people that are trolling don't realise is that they're being watched. In all these forums where they're using racist language, there are people that will be watching that and be saying, oh, that's somebody that we can recruit. That's somebody that we can take in. They're of the same mindset that we are. So it was a different experience. Thankfully, John, who's in the film, who agreed to talk to us, had come through that process. His mum had supported him greatly, and he was out the other side of it. But it gave us a real good insight as to kind of the mindset of a troll.
We've got a statement. We just need to remind you of what Twitter have told us. They say we have a clear rules in place to address threats of violence, abuse and harassment and hateful conduct. We take action when we identify any tweets and accounts that violate the Twitter rules. It's tricky, though, because it's not clear what those rules are, Jermaine. There
are... I mean, I've personally been through the experience of reporting these abusive and racist tweets that I've had to myself. And I don't know what they deem as racist. You'll see in the documentary, it is clearly racist, to the point I can't really say what the tweet says on TV right now. And then when you go through that process with Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, I received a message back that just said, this does not go against our community guidelines. So I think the problem everybody's got is, where is that threshold for these companies? What do they deem as racism? They have something which they call context, and it essentially protects them from doing the right thing. And this is what the documentary is about. I'm trying to, I suppose, put pressure on them. I know there's an online harms bill, online safety bill that's been brought into play by the government.
It just seems to be going so slowly, doesn't it?
Too slow.
I mean, for instance, the monkey emoji, the banana emoji.
Correct.
I mean, these are obviously and blatantly racist when they're used in tweets after football matches, for instance, direct messages. I mean, it's just disgusting, the kind of abuse that players, individuals, are receiving. Yeah. And when I describe the experiences, sabotaging, dispiriting, when you then get the response, this doesn't violate our guidelines.
I know,
You must just hold your hands out and think, where do we go now?
Well, look, Jermaine, the documentary is the next step along the way of bringing more attention to it. It's a brave thing that you've done, and hopefully lots of people see it. It's on Channel 4.
Channel 4 tonight, 10 p.m.
10 p.m. Yeah. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for your time.
Great to see you.
You haven't had a chance to talk about all things football as well, so we're going to have to get you back at some point.
Who's going to win the Premier League this year?
I think City will still do it. Sorry, Ben.
West Ham are still in there. They're still in there.
Why are you only apologising about Palace? We've got Patrick
You're a Palace
Vieira
fan?
and... oh, yes.
Doing well. They're doing well.
Thank you very much.
Doing really well.